Do you guys remember the Try Guys?
Oh my God, where they had the below like 2 standard deviations of T levels?
So yes. I tried finding, so for those that aren't familiar, and now that we've talked about China and masculinity, China wants to make their men more masculine, and in the US, like Luke mentioned, testosterone levels are down, sperm counts are down, reproduction is going down. And there's a group of guys that were on BuzzFeed. I don't think they're there anymore, but they were called the Try Guys. So they decided to do a segment where they tested their testosterone levels. And their testosterone levels were that of senior citizens.
That or like prepubescent boys or something.
Or girls, I think.
Or girls, yeah.
Yeah, no, of women.
It was bad.
It was really bad. So I actually have this article. I couldn't find a good article talking about the results because the original video they did just said, hey, look, we got our testosterone tested. How fun. But then a lot of people realized, whoa, these guys have dangerously low levels of testosterone. So I found a website called the 4 Second Hard On. And they say BuzzFeed's Try Guys have dangerously low testosterone. This is from December of 2017. They say the BuzzFeed Try Guys are a stereotypical group of beta male millennials that try various weird things and record their feminine reactions on YouTube. I don't think it's the best article I could find, so forgive the snark. If you have the misfortune to watch any of their content, you probably notice something's a little off. You'd be correct. In one of their antics, they tried to find out who was the most attractive man. One of the things they did was have blood work done to measure their testosterone levels. The Daily Wire reports. Actually, you know what? Can I just pull up the Daily Wire? Because they'd be a little bit less bombastic. So, no, that's not even there anymore. All right. So they say, quote, the normal T-score for an adult male ranges from 270 to 1070 NG/DL. Would you know what that means, Lydia?
No.
NG/DL?
Sorry. With
men aged from 25 to 34 averaging at 617 NG/DL.
So that's nanograms per deciliter. Whatever
okay.
that means, just a measurement.
All right. Not one BuzzFeed beta male met the 617 average. Rather, all of the men tested below the level of a typical 85-year-old male. Moreover, 3 of the 4 men tested below the average range, and the male with the highest testosterone level, Eugene, still had a relatively low T-score with 363 NG/DL. Why is it? Like, I don't.
Food?
Microplastics?
No exercise, maybe microplastics. I was reading about how we have this bottled water, right? No offense to this bottled water company, but there's, what is it called, like biphenyls?
Microplastics that mimic estrogen.
Yeah, bisphenol.
Inside of them, especially if the bottle is, exposed to heat and cold and expansion. But it's also alcohol. It's also mint. It's also, breads. Yeah.
Mint?
Many people don't even know this.
Really?
Mint lowers your testosterone. I've looked into this. Trust me. I got my testosterone tested a whole bunch of times.
Were you good?
Yes. I was very happy with my levels. I was like, all right, I did it.
The Slavic level starts higher as
I think so. I wasn't born in the United States, and I think that also helps a lot too. I was exposed to a whole different kind of way of life.
Your radiation levels are way higher, though.
Yes, because of Chernobyl, which I was actually born very close to, and afterwards, and I was still in my mom's belly, so that could understand my fraudulent slips sometimes. But
fraudulent?
Yes.
You know what I said.
Freudian. You almost got it this time,
with you. I'm messing with you. 3D chess here, okay? All right. What you guys caught me off guard, but also most importantly, mint, alcohol. Some people even point to bread, a lot of fake food, lack of exercise, lack of sleep, a lot of stress, microplastics, and those are only some of the theories out there of what's leading to this. There's other beliefs that there's even more, but again, testosterone, sperm levels, reproduction levels, absolutely low, very dangerous. No one wants to talk about it. They should be talking about it because testosterone is not only key to men's physical health, not only to your bones, not only towards your muscles, not only to towards your physical structure, but also your mental health. So if you're lacking in testosterone, this could explain why so many people are out of it, loopy and crazy, and we're having a mental health crisis because they don't have the proper amount of hormones within their system.
Manipulate.
So
exactly.
I want to stress, I mean no disrespect to the Try Guys. I'm just, I mean that sincerely. I'm pointing out this is a serious issue. So in one of the images they show, we can see that the lowest guy, Ned, had a T-score of 212. And for someone who's 85 to 100, it should be 376. There is seriously something wrong. I mean,
this is a bigger public health crisis than coronavirus, but no one's talking about it.
But if your T levels are below that of an 85-year-old man, shouldn't you go for like a screening of some sort to figure out what's wrong? Could that be something more serious than that?
Has anyone ever, I mean, if you go into like a regular checkup, this is not a normal procedure. It should be. Like when they check everything else.
I have to make sure, like I get it,
Right.
and I have to fight them sometimes. I'm like, because I get a blood test every 6 months just to check out my levels, just to to see how I'm doing on my, minerals and nutrients and all this other vitamin stuff, making sure my body's running, well. And they're like, oh, well, you don't need it. You're fine. You're in your third. I'm like, no. Make sure you put it on there, because they just refuse to do it many times.
So let me show you this. I just did this quick Google search. It's from 2007. Generational decline in testosterone levels observed. Trend does not seem to be attributable to health and lifestyle changes. They say during the past 2 decades, testosterone levels in American men have rapidly declined. This information comes from a long-term prospective study that evaluated changes in serum testosterone on a population-wide basis. The study was published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. They say the interesting thing we discovered was that on average, when we measured the testosterone in the blood of a 60-year-old in 1989, it was higher than that in a different 60-year-old measured in 1995, said Thomas Travison, PhD, of the New England Research Institute's Watertown, Massachusetts. We observed the same phenomenon over a wide range of ages. They say although testosterone loss is common as men age, it is often associated with diabetes, abdominal obesity, sexual dysfunction, depression, and other adverse conditions. The Massachusetts male aging study was composed of randomly selected men ages 45 to 79 living in the Boston area. I'm not going to go through all of the, full details on how the study was done. Just that for the past couple of decades now, or I should say decade and a half-ish, we've been seeing that there's some kind of decline in testosterone among men, not related to lifestyle or what do they say, health and lifestyle.
Well, for diet, personally, I just reminded myself, because I remember doing a lot of research about this a few years ago, but it's also a lot of processed food, flax seeds, vegetable oils, along with what I mentioned before, mint, alcohol, that do have a very negative effect on you.
And then remember they said,
weird.
They said you weren't supposed to eat eggs for a while. Eggs was bad, red meat, and all those things. They moved them back up the pyramid, or the food pyramid, because they found
healthy fats.
Healthy fats. But also, you guys remember they used to talk about ancient Rome with the lead and the aqueducts and stuff, and that had an impact on people's health. And I think, if I remember correctly, the lead in there impacted testosterone of ancient Rome. I mean, there may be something going on now that we don't know about, the plastics, whatever. Maybe in 1,000 years we'll know.
High fructose corn syrup, maybe.
Yeah.
It really
maybe
hit the mainstream food supply in 1989. It's banned in Europe. Is that true?
The interesting thing,
Europe's just as bad. So.
The interesting thing about the study, though, is they mention 1989 to 1995. It's not like these are different generations.
Right.
It's not like there was a genetics being passed down or whatever.
89 to 95?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when high fructose corn syrup hit the market.
Well, so you have a 60-year-old in 1989, and that means you have the 60-year-old at the time was 54. So maybe there's something about, you go back to the 50s, and we've been introducing more and more of something that's caused some kind of
also
issue.
the sugar industry put out a bunch of PR and bribed a bunch of doctors to say that fats were really bad for you. And if you walk around the supermarket, you see everything non-fat, low-fat, and
those are the worst for you.
And there's been a lot of misinformation surrounding fat, good fat, bad fat, that of course was just totally wiped out with this larger PR campaign that was launched by the sugar industry. Because if you look at foods now, everything has a ton of crazy processed sugar in there, but very few things actually have natural fat. And natural fat is also very key, important, not only for your physical health, but also your mental health.
This could be it. I mean, it could be a bunch of guys who are not getting any fat in their diet. Maybe they're vegan. So they're, no disrespect to vegans, but probably getting a lot more fiber, a lot more sugar, and a lot less protein and fat.
I mean, have you ever seen a healthy vegan? I mean, they generally don't look healthy. I mean, that's an anecdote, but I mean, I've never seen them look great.
Adam and Nish are pretty healthy, but they supplement hard. Adam and Nish, they live here in the house.
Oh, okay.
And they know all of the secrets.
But that's the thing. You have to have you have to go the extra mile.
Big time too. Vitamin B deficiency is huge. I would imagine.
Iron deficiency,
fat.
Because I'm not a nutritionist or anything, but my understanding is that there's like heme iron and non-heme iron. You Google fact check me on this one. But I was reading that when you get iron from, say, a steak, your body absorbs it right away. But from vegetables, it doesn't unless you have vitamin C. So you eat meat, you're getting your iron, you're getting your vitamin B. You're not getting that if you're on a vegan diet.
Yeah, so many people are deficient in micronutrients and vitamins, and a lot of the food, especially, I believe there was a study done comparing the actual nutritional levels of food and vegetables and fruits just a couple years ago to now, and that's also declining, and that could be a response because of factory farming. Lydia, you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I have a lot I want to say about this stuff because I love this kind of stuff. So Ian was talking about how he thinks that the introduction of stuff like high fructose corn syrup might be causing part of the problem. I think that I would probably accredit the whole larger problem to the problem of obesity, which I would then attribute to the problem with our microbiome, which is something that almost nobody ever talks about, but it affects everything we do.
I started
these
taking
guys
probiotics.
are the Try Guys are frail.
This is
Yes,
a great
they're
probiotic.
gaunt.
They have the opposite problem.
I've taken probiotics, prebiotics the last 2-3 months. I have felt so much. It's crazy.
I took it on a whole nother level. I
Yes.
started getting customized probiotics and I started working and even doing affiliate sales because I was so happy with the results that I found, where you literally have to doo-doo in a cup and send it to a laboratory, and then they sent you, and then they test out your gut. My gut, they tell you things about you that you didn't even know based off your
gut is a lot.
I'm wondering if maybe there's something related to the higher crop yield that we've seen from crops due to, you have people like Norman Borlaug, who's this famous scientist who figured out how to get more wheat out of a typical, yield or whatever to save people from starvation. He's a brilliant guy. People consider he's a great hero and scientist. But there's a concern that there's less and less nutrients in the crops we're growing as we grow more and more and more and make it more dense.
That as the carbon dioxide, I would really need to fact check this, but as the carbon dioxide levels have increased on planet Earth, the plants have been getting bigger, but they haven't been getting more nutritious. It's almost like they're getting more obese.
No, they're getting more carbon in them, which is just the basic building blocks of plant matter. But there's still things like, I don't know, iron or selenium or certain vitamins that need to be produced.
But that's not growing at the same rate as just the mass of these plants.
Let me tell you another story. Look, I'm not going to pretend to be a bioengineer or farmer or any kind of agriculturalist, but I was in New Zealand and we were driving from Auckland to Wellington, and on the way there we drove through this area where it looked fairly barren, and the New Zealanders I was with told me that at one point when settlers came to New Zealand, they were having their sheep graze in this area, but the sheep all started dropping dead. Their livestock would just die randomly for no reason. They had no idea why. And then eventually they started testing the ground and they found there was no selenium. I think that's what he said. I think it's selenium. Not a scientist, guys. But they realized that the animals weren't getting a vital nutrient even though they were eating grass and crops and things they needed. So it's possible that we're growing all this food and we're not putting anything into it. It's just like dry carbs.
And even according to, Peak Prosperity, they were talking about selenium being very important for your body to fight off COVID, and a lot of people being deficient in it. I'm actually on this website, Medical News Today, and they recommend foods that actually increase your testosterone. It's actually a lot of the stuff that I, have been taking myself, and they recommend foods like ginger, leafy greens, fatty foods, fish oil, virgin olive oil, onions, and oysters.
A Mediterranean diet.
As positive foods to boost your testosterone naturally, because I know a lot of people who either go down to Mexico or even through weird doctors here in the United States decide to do it the artificial way, and that's why there's a lot of people on testosterone replacement therapy. And once you're on it, you're going to have to be on it for the rest of your life. I know a lot of people who are miserable because of it. They're very happy when they initially take it, but it's just like any other hormone. Your body stops naturally producing it, so essentially you have to inject yourself almost
like steroids.
every month. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's what a lot of fighters are accused of doing. That's why they test a lot of fighters, because a lot of fighters inject themselves with anabolic steroids, extra testosterone, to make sure that they're better fighters. There was even legal testosterone replacement that Joe Rogan was talking about some UFC fighters using, and then just bulking up, being buffer, having huge muscles, and being incredible fighters, which also was banned by the UFC and other fighting organizations because of obviously people were abusing it and taking a whole bunch of it themselves. But I know a lot of people that just they take it artificially, and that's becoming more and more prevalent among older men that I know.
Let me read this segment from the 4-second hard-on. They say, they are not freaks. They are the new normal of the BuzzFeed Try Guys. A very sizable percentage of millennial men suffer from low testosterone levels. The reasons are pretty well known, but hard to combat. Modern lifestyle is sedentary, and the most lucrative jobs in the modern economy require sitting in front of a computer under fluorescent lighting for 10 hours a day. The male body requires routine athletic activity and exposure to sunlight, and most are not getting it. On top of that, processed foods and chemical pollutants crippling men's hormone systems. The near universal use of birth control pill by women results in the water supply being tainted with estrogen. Hell, male fish in polluted rivers are actually becoming female. You mean to tell me they're turning the frickin' fish into women?
That's correct.
What kind of website did you find? 4-second hard-on?
Popular Science. Hold on. PopularScience.com.
Okay. Okay.
Something in the water is feminizing male fish. Are we next?
Yes.
I've heard that the pharmaceuticals in the water is devastating.
Yes.
Well, it's not just pharmaceuticals. We have to understand even cocaine in parts of the United Kingdom were found amongst fish because of people using record numbers of cocaine, and then it being disposed of in your body through your stool, it going through, of course, the natural kind of plants. It never filters through, and of course, it's spreading everywhere. And this is also the same for what's the pill that women take not to get pregnant?
Birth control.
Birth control. Yes.
Yeah.
Birth
Like
control.
we
So
were talking
that there also is a lot of discussion about the larger effects of birth control going into the water because there's no way of filtering it out, and of course, this affecting people who drink the tap water.
I mean, the pill
You just
itself.
don't drink the tap water. So I only drink bottled water. For the most part.
Microplastics.
So we're
There's
in
a reason I got a glass
well
bottle.
water thing.
I got a glass
That's
bottle
true.
here for a reason.
That's true.
Yeah.
We're in a well system here with like an insanely good water treatment system. And so I was wondering about, contaminants in water and how it's affecting people. So obviously there's fluoride, which I remember this like decades ago. They would say, people like Alex Jones and Luke Rudkowski's of the world
it's a chemical waste byproduct.
saying don't ingest fluoride, but it's in your toothpaste, so people ingest it no matter what. It's in your water, so no matter what you do, you ingest it. But there were a lot of people saying it's a conspiracy theory, it's fine. Then I remember I posted something on MySpace, like this is back in the day, where I read a study came out. So this is back in the Aughties or whatever you want to call it, about how fluoride does cause problems and you shouldn't ingest it. Even if like the idea is it helps your teeth, you don't need to drink it. But outside of the fluoride thing, that's a long-standing complaint people have. Some jurisdictions are voting to remove fluoride from their water. You have you have the other contaminants of birth control pills. So this is something we've read a lot about, and now we have this study, Popular Science, pointing out. Let me read a little bit of this. They say, it's one thing to worry about pollutants in our fresh water supply. It's another to find out that all across the country, male fish swimming in some of that water are becoming intersex. Their male sex organs producing immature female eggs. Although the condition occurs naturally in some species, it shouldn't happen to black bass. But a new study shows that it is, and in numbers far greater than ever suspected. The phenomenon raises serious concerns about the pollution levels in our rivers and could threaten several species. They say the 9-year study conducted by the U.S. Geological Survey provides the first nationwide count of intersex fish in the U.S. rivers. Overall, 44% of the largemouth and smallmouth bass dissected turned out to be intersex. But at some sites, 91% of the male largemouth bass were affected. Biologist Joe Ellen Hink's team found intersex males at 34 of 111 sites in 8 out of 9 major river basins, including the Columbia, the Colorado, and the Mississippi. The southeastern U.S. was hit hardest, with intersex bass at every location sampled along the Apalachicola, Savannah, and PD rivers. Now we need to figure out why. The discovery raises some tough questions. Scientists don't know whether the growing number of feminized fish could hinder reproduction enough to disturb the rest of the ecosystem or even drive bass into extinction. Even scarier, the culprit is still unknown. The prime suspect, our toilets. Previous research indicates that wastewater treatment plants flush endocrine disruptive compounds, EDCs, including pharmaceuticals, pesticides, and hormones into the rivers. Even minuscule amounts of EDCs can trigger powerful hormonal shifts that deform male fish's reproductive organs. During a 7-year study, for instance, scientists added parts per trillion amounts, the levels emitted by treatment plants, of synthetic estrogen used in birth control pills to a closed lake. The resulting sex changes collapsed the entire fish population. Was Alex Jones right about atrazine turning the friggin' frogs gay?
He wasn't wrong. That's one of the few things.
He wasn't right, actually.
No, he wasn't right. He admits that too.
Right. He wasn't right.
It was altering their.
Well, I was
their
specifically
sex
talking about the
organs.
chemicals.
He was right about that.
In the water not being filtered.
No,
when he was talking about that, he was absolutely right about that.
He said it was hyperbole. When he said gay, he was actually what he meant was that their sex organs were changing from male to female.
So intersex, like we're seeing
Hermaphroditic.
with this Popular Science article. I think the issue with what he was talking about was that he cited atrazine, which I believe is a pesticide. And I think they later came out and said they don't believe atrazine to have been the main culprit in causing some of these changes in the frog population. But we have this Popular Science article, and admittedly, it's from 10 years ago. So there may have been developments or changes. But we have only a few years ago, we're seeing human males with testosterone levels that should be alarming. Look, I'm going to say it again. No disrespect to the Try Guys. I'm not trying to be mean. But I would just say if your testosterone level is at 212 and someone who's 85 is at 367, I think you need to go to a doctor for a full screening of some sort. Something might be wrong.
They're victims. I mean, I feel bad for them. I don't think they did this purposely. I mean, it's just the byproduct of society. I mean, I think we're going to wake up one day in the plot of what's that movie, Children of Men.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to have kids anymore. I mean, I think that's where we're heading. I mean, it's like, and no one's going to see it coming because we're so focused on COVID.
Infertility is on the rise in Western countries, and it's terrifying, the stories that we hear about. And also combined with, of course, the mainstream media push telling you don't need children.
Right.
Children are bad.
Cultural and
Why
biological.
have children when you could have a video game? And there was even advertisements, I believe, in the United Kingdom that were saying choose, and it was a condom and a video game and a baby. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, why is there such a weird push? Why is there such conversations like this happening in other countries like Poland and Hungary? They're like, hey, we got to deal with this somehow.
What do the Georgia Guidestones say?
Keep
the population of the world at 500 million.
Did you ever see?
So I'm not. Hold on. Yeah. I'm not saying that there's a cabal secretly stopping people from having kids, but I do think it's fair to say that there are a lot of environmentalists who flat out say having kids is bad for the planet. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.